All right, friends, in studio with us from the River Keepers Society. Is it a society?
It's a nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit. It's going to be a society for me. Anyways, we have Christine Holland with River Keepers. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. River Keepers is such a unique thing that's happening in the area. For people that are new to it, what can you teach us?
So our mission is to advocate for safe and sustainable use of the Red River.
Okay.
And we try to get people to learn about the river so that they can become good stewards and help sustain the river.
Yeah.
And also safely enjoy the river.
Okay. There are a ton of myths around the Red River. And Christine, I'm a product of Fargo, have lived here since I was about 5 years old. And I think people think that the river is super dirty. What can you teach us about that?
Yeah, that's why River Keepers exists, in partial because of that, trying to change those perceptions.
I mean, I've lived here 35 years, and it looks dirty.
Yeah.
But it's not, is it?
No. So we have been doing water quality monitoring since 2000, south of town, north of town, and the middle of town, so we can see how it changes.
Yeah.
And actually have data to back up what we're saying. So mostly it's just the clay soils that we have here that are so small they say suspended in the river column.
Okay. Now, I think that the average Joe maybe isn't aware of all the clay that we have here. So let me come at it from a real estate perspective. It costs so much more to build a house in Fargo than it does to build a house, let's say, in Oklahoma City. And the reason why is because we have so much clay in our soil. After you get off that top dirt, it's just clay, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that clay is, it's hard to maneuver around, and it obviously makes the river look a lot more brown than it actually is.
Correct.
Okay. So what do people need to know about the river that they maybe don't off the top of their head?
So the other big myth is that there's undercurrents in the Red River, and that is not true either. There used to be at the Lowhead dams, but now that in Fargo-Moorhead we've retrofitted them with a 5% rock slopeway, there is not that undertow anymore. There's still a current, and it goes faster the higher the river goes, but otherwise it's just a current. There are no undertows.
Now, what I've noticed, and I live on the river, I've noticed a lot of new activity of people kayaking and boating. I saw somebody in like a motorboat going down the Red. It was crazy. What kind of activities are you seeing people embrace?
So we want people to use it safely, and some of those great ways are canoeing, kayaking, fishing from either a boat or on the bank of the river, and just enjoying it from those perspectives.
Sure. What kind of fish do we find in the Red?
There are over 80 species.
So if I were to drop a line in, what would I expect to pull up?
Well, you could get a goldeye, which you could then use to catch catfish, which is the biggest game fish in Fargo-Moorhead or in the Red River.
How big do these catfish get? Because I've heard stories. We have a team member who loves to fish, and he's always telling us catfish stories.
Yeah, you can easily catch about a 20-pound cat in Fargo-Moorhead.
What?
They're fun.
How big? So how long is a 20-pound catfish?
Oh, man, I don't know. It's big.
Those of you on radio right now, we're telling fishing stories, and so it's getting bigger and bigger. A couple feet long at least, and that's wild. I remember because I grew up living just on the river as well. My friends and I, and here is just an unfortunate thing, is we would build forts down by the river. I was 10 or 11 years old, and we were in a new construction area. And so we would sneak over to some new builds and take a couple pieces of plywood or sheetrock or whatever it may be, and we would use that to build our fort down by the river. And so I was a river keeper for long before until the flood washed away our flood. But we would our fort, excuse me. We would fish in that river, and I remember catching a catfish, and I had no idea where to hold it, what to do with it. It was kind of intimidating.
Yeah, a lot of people think they're ugly, but I think they're kind of cute.
Okay. That's what my wife says about me, too. Is a lot of people say I'm ugly, but she says I'm kind of cute. So thank goodness. Again, those of you tuning in, we have Christine with River Keepers, and we're talking about the good things you're doing. You've been in this job for a long time. What kind of involvement do you see from the community? Because you just had your biggest event yet.
Yeah, so last year we worked with over 2,100 volunteers, engaging them in the different projects we have. So we're not an environmental group or a recreation group. We try to meet people where their interest lies.
Okay.
So we do things like working with the cities and the park districts on trash cleanups along the river, tree plantings along the river. Last week we had our water festival where we had 2,100 fourth graders from 32 schools come and learn all about water.
Oh my gosh. And you had said how many trees were planted in that time?
Yeah, so 5,500 trees and shrubs with about 600 volunteers last week with the City of Fargo and Fargo Park District.
How can I get those volunteers to my house? Because I paid a landscaping bill recently, and holy cow, that's something else. Seriously, how do I get those people to my house?
Well, so they come
I live
out.
on the river. I told you that. Like, I feel like this is a match made in heaven right now.
Yeah, we think it's a great project because they come down, they're learning about the river, they're learning about trees, they're building relationships with the people they come down with to volunteer. They're outside getting fresh air. And
we can do all that in Erik's backyard. I just want to, again, put that out there. You do have a big event coming up here. Talk to us about your big fundraiser that's happening in the middle of October.
So it's at the Hodo, and they give us wonderful tasting.
Let's talk about the Hodo, first of all, because there is a unique way in which that bar was built in honor of the Red River, right? What can you educate us for on that?
And they also have chairs with the river in the back of them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So the bar is shaped like the Red River, isn't it?
Lots of curves and meanders, just like the Red River. So if you're on the river and you think you're going to go like one straight mile, you're actually going 2 to 3 river miles. So you can't go as fast as you think you can when you're on the river.
Yeah. And the Hodo, if you didn't know it, the Hodo is decorated with things that were found in the river as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I might just be making things up, but this is what I've heard in the past.
Karen Stoker has a great love for the Red River.
Yeah, and such a good lady. So you have an event coming up at the Hodo. What's the date?
It's October 13th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Hodo.
Okay,
it's called Celebrate Our Red.
Perfect.
And tickets are $60. We get wonderful appetizers from the Hodo, beer, wine, silent auction, and a raffle.
We're doing this questionnaire right now with Hatch Realty, and so every person on our team is filling it out. We're using it for social media, and one of the questions was, "What's your favorite app?" And they were talking phone app, and I put down nachos because when they said favorite app, all I thought was appetizers. And you're going to have a spread of appetizers, which is exciting.
And they're pretty.
No doubt. So for people, if they're going and if their $60 goes towards apps and supporting river keepers, what are you going to do with that money? I think it's important that people know and understand where that cash is going.
Yeah, so that helps us with our education and outreach program. So really trying to reach all those students that we've been reaching, engaging those volunteers and teaching people that the river can be safe if you wear a life jacket, stay sober, and respect it.
Yeah, no doubt. Final question. Can I swim in the Red?
We don't suggest swimming in the Red River. So I would wade in it in the boat by the boat ramps, but there is a current, like we talked about, it's dark. So if you go under, you can't see which way is up. Yeah. And there's some tree snags that you could get your clothes snagged on or something. So we suggest those recreation opportunities on top of the river or on the banks of the river.
Well, I appreciate that very much so. And I love having you in studio and the good that you're doing in the community, especially to support the Red River.
Well, thanks for having us.
You bet. Again, October 13th at the Hodo, 6 to 8:30. Make sure you jump on board. $60 get you some delicious apps. Where can people sign up or get their tickets?
Riverkeepers.org, or we have a very active Facebook page.
Perfect. Track it down. Christine Holland with River Keepers, thanks so very much. Great to have you in studio. Folks, we're going to go to break. This is Real Estate Radio with Erik Hatch.